Hi everyone, my name is Sarah and I am a psychoeducator at the clinic. Today for Wellness Wednesday, I will be speaking about performance anxiety. This presentation will be divided in three parts. So first we will talk about what performance anxiety is. Second, we will look at what can cause performance anxiety. And lastly, we will look at different strategies and behaviors that can be used to deal with performance anxiety. Performance anxiety is characterized by the fear or by the manifestation of psychological and physiological symptoms when faced with performance situations or evaluation situations. There are plenty of situations that we can face on our daily life that can cause performance anxiety. I have a couple of examples here. So there is giving an oral presentation, delivering an important essay with a deadline, giving an artistic performance in front of an audience, taking a written test, and meeting a potential partner. So during the period preceding an examination, the individual struggling with performance anxiety may experience two types of symptoms. So there are somatic symptoms such as gastric discomfort, agitation, muscle tension, and headaches. They can also experience psychological symptoms such as nervousness, anxiety attacks, insomnia, or even catastrophic negative thoughts. Performance anxiety can become a major obstacle to learning and to social, academic, and professional functioning. It causes a lot of suffering for many people, and it can lead to lower self-esteem. This can be explained by the fact that people who tend to have performance anxiety might avoid competition situation or performance situations and will keep themselves from learning new skills and building their self-confidence. Now, for the causes of performance anxiety, there are 6 of them that I will be talking about today. So the first one is trying to maintain what you have already achieved. Second is to be put on the spot. Third is linking performance to identity. 4 is setting unrealistic goals. 5 is outside pressure. And 6 is only seeing 2 options. So the first one, which is the worry to maintain what you have already achieved, is something that is really common in students. So for example, if you are an academic and you have had great success in your evaluations, your oral presentations, and your tests, you've had good grades, well, this will make you have very high standards to maintain when you come into your next test or evaluation. Even if we know that tests can be unpredictable, it still can bring performance anxiety. The second one is being put on the spot to do something outside of your comfort zone in front of people. So for example, someone that is really used to speaking in front of people, such as a researcher that gives conferences about his studies, might have a normal amount of anxiety or excitement before he goes on stage to give a presentation. That same person could have performance anxiety in another setting. So, for example, if that researcher listens to someone else's conference and the person speaking in front asks them to join him on stage to explain something that he's not really comfortable with. That researcher could freeze up and have performance anxiety because speaking about that subject would be outside of his comfort zone. Number 3 is linking performance to identity. So this is something that we see a lot in athletes or performing artists. For example, athletes that define their identity by their ability to perform on the field. Means that every time they go play, their identity is in a state of question or uncertainty. And this can lead to a tremendous amount of insecurity, which leads to anxiety. In that case, if the athlete is having a bad day or a teammate is playing exceptionally well, instead of seeing that as changing factors of the environment that are outside of their control, the person with performance anxiety might think that there's something wrong with themselves. Number 4 is setting unrealistic goals. So, someone that has performance anxiety, when they aren't able to achieve the goals that they had set in time or in a context that they had chosen, they might have negative feelings and thoughts towards themselves. So, for example, they might be feeling like a fraud. They might ask themselves why they couldn't achieve their goals and what is wrong with them. So when we look at it, we can see that the goal that they had chosen was really just unrealistic. Number 5 is outside pressure. Outside pressure can come from different people for various reasons. So, for example, if you come from a family of high achievers who have degrees, you might feel pressure to fit in, and you could have performance anxiety towards school and grades. Another example is if you are a part of a soccer team and the other players are playing exceptionally well or are very good, you might feel pressure to be equally as good and have a performance anxiety. Number 6 is getting stuck in the ability to see only two options. Those two options are when you're facing a situation of evaluation, you are either a winner or a loser. Um, there's actually a third option that we have to consider, which is the learning option. And it is very important to ask yourself, what are you learning from the situation? Whether you are succeeding or not, it is important to remember that you are learning either way. And so seeing only two options can cause performance anxiety. For the third part of this presentation, we will talk about how to deal with performance anxiety. I'll just grab a little water. So there are a couple of things that we can do, such as focusing on the growth opportunities, looking at the bigger picture, allowing for mistakes, set a time to unwind, remove yourself from people's expectations, and lastly, breathe and talk about it. So number 1 is reconceptualizing the failures to learning and growth opportunities. So for example, let's say you had an oral presentation you had to give and you are not happy with how it went. The first step is to analyze what you did by identifying what you did right. So let's say you were standing up straight, you were speaking loudly and clearly. You can pat yourself on the back for those things that you did right. Then, without getting defensive, you can be realistic about what hasn't been so good. So let's say you didn't practice enough, you mixed up your topics. Those are things that you can acknowledge that you didn't do so great. By doing that, you will learn to reuse what went well. So you will apply your good strategies the next time you give an oral presentation, and you will avoid the things that didn't work so well. By practicing to analyze the situations, you will learn to, instead of focusing on performance, you will focus about the learning curve that you have just gone through. Number 2 is seeing the bigger picture. So if you're an academic and you are focused on performance, you can think of the knowledge that you're interested in. I know studying can be quite tedious and is not always interesting, but you have to remind yourself of the love and the passion you have for what you are doing. Also, when you are in a rough patch and you are finding things uninteresting, you can remember the benefits. Um, Being an academic is also learning. Learning is making you more intelligent, and being more intelligent has a lot of benefits, such as preventing dementia, for example. Number three is my favorite, which is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Often people who have performance anxiety will feel guilt or shame when they are making mistakes, which we shouldn't, because mistakes are a part of growth and they are a part of the learning process. So it's very important to allowing ourselves to make mistakes. Number four is to schedule moments to relax. This is very important, especially for people who are always in a competitive environment, such as uh, people who play professional sport or have very high performance rate jobs. There are two ways to find moments to relax. So the first way is to see the weekend as a vacation. So basically, when the week ends, you unplug, you stay away from work, you watch a funny TV show, you do something that makes you feel good, and you take time away from what brings you performance anxiety. If that isn't possible, it's very important to learn to know when things are too much. So basically, you have to know yourself and try to identify during the day when you are having anxiety or feel a lot of stress. And in that moment, it's okay to disappear to the bathroom or go outside, take a moment on your own to reboot and give your brain a rest. Number five is to remove yourself from other people's expectation. It's okay to have people who have expectations from us, but it's very important to take it with a pinch of salt. What is important to focus on is what you expect of yourself. You also have to remind yourself that there are an infinite number of options or paths to get to where you want to go. And if you feel pressure from other people's expectation, it is important to be verbal and talk about what you really want. When you speak about what you want to the people in your life, you can explain to them that there are different paths that you can choose, and the reason why you are choosing to follow the one you are following, and that will allow you to define your own expectations instead of living by other people's definition of you. Finally, stop and breathe. It's very important to take this time to stop. Allow yourself to take a break and breathe. It's also important to take the time to think, ask yourself why you feel anxiety. If you're able to identify triggers of your anxiety by analyzing your thinking. And finally, to talk about it. If you don't want to talk to a professional about it, or a friend or a family member, you can always write down how you feel, and that may help. So I hope this presentation was helpful for some of you. I was really happy to do this for you today, and hopefully I will see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.